there's an age-old piece of advice that almost no one ever takes because the advice itself sounds like a hustle. If you ask the greatest players that ever played this game what their best advice is, most of them are going to say don't waste your time with bad players, bad opponents, just beating up on, your local friends and neighbors. The problem is most people who call themselves pool players have never learned how to think. And they're seeing a game of 8 ball or 9 ball or 10 ball or whatever it is as 7 or 8 or 9 different things, different pieces instead of one thing and one pattern. So after the break, they'll just usually look for the easiest shot and take it just to get themselves started, and it doesn't take long to see that they're in big trouble. Why do some people have it and some people don't? And it's in the way that they think. You're never going to get good that way because you're never going to learn how to think. And it's not that you're magically learning how to stroke the cue and how to make certain shots, and it's automatically going to get put into what you're going to learn is if you stick with playing players that can beat you, you're eventually going to learn how to think, or you're just going to drive yourself crazy and quit. That's what you're going to learn. Once you learn how to think, the rest is just practice and bearing down and refusing to give up on yourself and just kind of getting down to the nitty gritty. And so you can do that, but you're never going to learn how to think like a winner, like a great pool player, until you get away from beating up on bad players. When you're sitting there in your chair watching your opponent run out, it's going to dawn on you that there's a big price to pay for being stupid. So the advice is blown up because the player asking for the advice is thinking, he's just looking for cheap action. He's just another hustler. He just wants to get in my pocket. No, that's not what he's saying at all. It is what it sounds like, though. It sounds like he's trying to trap people into a game, and that's not what he's doing. Every once in a while, I'll be out there and I'll run into a young man or a young woman that really, truly has what it takes to be a champion. Now, whether they're going to stick with it and decide that that's what they want to be, that's a different story. But they do have it inside them, and I don't even have to watch them play. Just talking to them for 60 seconds will tell me if they have it or they don't. After wasting their time and their life or not. And this really comes down to what's going on inside their head and the way that they think and how their neural network in their brain is working. I gotta guard this tree for a minute, but I'll be right back. It's gonna come down to the willingness and desire to not really take a risk, but to take your lumps and to quit playing it safe. You're really, and I see it every day, you're really wasting your time playing chumps, man. You really are. and it's making you mentally lazy and physically lazy, and it's just a horrible, destructive pattern of nothingness. It just leads nowhere. And because these same players think, I mean, even if they're like a little above average, the same players will think, well, there's a whole lot more bad pool players than there are good players, which is quite accurate. And so one thought leads to another, and it's like, well, if I can just get $20 or $30 or $40 from each one of them, I'll be ahead of the game. But I mean, it's gonna pay for your full time and a beer, and it's just you're not gonna get anywhere doing that. Like, believe me, I did it for years. And every once in a while, one of these guys will surprise you or just be having a lucky night. Actually, work for it. And you gotta work to be the thing. Which is really disheartening. You can't even beat the shitty part. Yeah, they ain't gonna work for you. You're never gonna get there. The big age-old question is, can anyone become a great pool player? And the answer is yeah, but it takes, number one, a willingness to work on it, a love for the game. You gotta have that love for the game, because if you don't, you're gonna realize there's a whole lot more money in spending all this time working on something that makes money. Black woman. Yeah, it's the willingness to work really hard on it and spend a whole lot of time on it. The guts to take your lumps and to bang heads with the best players you can find. I swear, the ultimate lesson is in it'll if you keep coming back and fire at good players, it's all gonna just hit you one day, and you're gonna learn how to think, and that takes a lot of guts, because you're gonna get beat up a lot. And so, yeah, guts, coordination is always helpful, when you're doing something physical. I don't think it takes a high IQ person to get there. In fact, there's some evidence of that, and I'm not gonna say anything negative, or point out, name names and all that crap, but I know people that really actually low IQ people that are great pool players. So you can learn how to think. You're not born with this neuron pattern. A bad childhood really screws your head up, but you can fix that. You can't go back in time and take away the abuse, but you can change the way you think about things. I believe you can find a new way to think, in a much better way. After this break, you'll see me take a lot of time before I shoot the first ball, a lot more time than you're used to seeing me, because I'm not playing 9-ball this game, I'm playing 8-ball. And the options are endless. In 9-ball, you break, and the table of the balls tell you what to do, the pattern tells you what to do, and you go about doing it. You can either do it or you can't. It's 8-ball, it's a totally different story. You can do anything you want, and your job is to find the best way to do it and win. literally millions of options. So 8-ball does take a lot more thinking and a lot more dissecting, analyzing. And if I do this, well, what, how am I going to do that? My opening shot in this game of 8-ball may well confuse some players out there, and it's a long, tough shot that's going between two straight balls, and I'm shooting at the 3-ball to make it in the bottom right-hand corner. Now, what's confusing about this is if we take a closer look at the top of the table, the top of the rack, there's a much easier opening shot on this game, and that's in playing the 13-ball and taking the stripes. Let's go back to the picture of the whole table, and let's take a closer look at this. And an amateur player will consider my opening shot a really terrible decision because you're leaving the pocket open for your opponent to make two straight balls in the same corner. And number one, only one of these balls is blocked by the 3-ball, and that would be the 11-ball. The 14 does go straight, and you might have to cheat the pocket a little bit depending on your table, but you can make the 14, or your opponent can make the 14, and he can easily get right on the 11-ball in order to shoot it in this pocket here if he's a good player. But all of that is beside the point. I know why you want to leave the 3-ball in the pocket. It's really the thought pattern of someone playing not to lose when you should be playing to win. And complicating the issue for a striped player is this 15 9-ball kind of semi-cluster here. The 9-ball is not cuttable in the side pocket unless your pockets are cut a little bit different than mine and wider. It's a dreadfully hard, difficult cut in the side, and even if we could do that, I don't know what you're doing with the 15. So the 9-ball has to be shot up in the corner, but you're still left with no pocket for this 15-ball because of where the 6-ball blocks at the left-hand bottom corner there. So you're probably going to end up banking the 15, and it's probably going to be the key ball on the 8-ball, which is, you're kind of throwing the cue ball away on that shot, and I don't like it a bit. And with all that said, the big deciding factor for a lower ranking player is going to be this 5-ball, and if you're going to be shooting a 3-ball, you're kind of trapping your own 5-ball from being made in the bottom right-hand corner. But that's only because they're not seeing the whole picture, and the whole key in this is knowing what a key ball is and where it can be found. Now, one of the first things a top shelf 8-ball player does is figure out what pocket they're going to shoot this 8-ball in. And then they're naturally going to find where the key ball is to get on the 8-ball. And in this case, it's going to be the 7-ball. But there's another key ball on this table, and in this case it's going to be the 4-ball, and that's going to help us get right on the 5-ball to shoot the 5 in the top left-hand corner. The whole issue with this is in seeing the game as one thing and recognizing these two key balls. And that whole thing is going to come down to how you shoot this 3-ball, this opening shot here. What you want to do is let the cue ball do all the work and just use the weight of the cue ball to come up right on this 6-ball in order to get back on this first key ball in order to take care of that 5-ball and get right on the 2-ball in order to get right on the second key ball, and then you should be perfect on the 8 to win the game.